Okay. Hi guys, Connie here from Lives Worth Living here with Pup Chamberlain. Pup and I shared a role as suicide prevention officers. We're a 1 FTE here in Mid Canterbury. Our role was developed as a community funded role, and it was developed in October 2019 to identify the need in the community. So our role is both looking at suicide prevention and postvention. So just going through a wee bit of the objectives. It is to increase the community awareness by facilitating workshops, wellbeing and resilience in our community. And that's needed now more than ever. So that probably we've jumped quite quickly into that. Increase public understanding of how to identify and support at-risk individuals and suicide prevention. So we do that by using a model developed by Roger Shave. It's AEIOU, and it's a risk assessment tool that we use to support people in identifying the risk questions to ensure someone is safe. We navigate service, so that's one role that we're doing quite a lot of at the moment. So getting a lot of calls from the community, unsure of what services are available, accessibility to services, and we navigate people through. At the moment, of course, all services are available, but just in a different way. We work in consultation with Pegasus Health, identifying our community needs, because Pegasus Health have the contract with the DHB for suicide prevention, and we work alongside John and Gitlian and David Kearns. We provide post-vention support in the event of loss. So we work immediately with our community if we have a loss in our community by suicide. And we also facilitate grief and loss programs in our community. And we deliver our role is really to deliver a consistent messaging, which is evidence-based and a standardized approach. So at the moment, we have a Skylight program. So Skylight is an 8-week program which we're running at the moment. It was developed by Chris Bowden in Wellington, and it's an evidence-based 8-week program for those affected by suicide. You have to be 4 months post your loss to engage in the program. Pup and I, and with Sandy Dolan, who's been awesome, are facilitating a group at the moment in Ashburton, and of course that now is on hold. Really effective program, helping people work through their loss in the first four weeks, and then actually celebrating the loss and moving forward. So equipping those who have lost to move forward with their lives. The WAVES program is for over 18, and if you know of anyone interested, just touch base with myself or Pup. We're also at the moment just working alongside with Matt Cameron in Anglican Care and working with Anglican Care here, just trying to develop an Ocean's Grief program. This would be for our young people, particularly our grief program, and that's a generalized loss program. Our role also is, as we said at the moment, we're doing a lot of wellbeing and resilience workshops. We've already been out to the council, we've been out to the Kahuyakos, out to the schools, out to community-based organisations, out to a lot of our Lions clubs, so we're frontline, our fire brigade, our frontline, and just giving advice, because we're very aware actually to look after the care of others. We have to be really aware of our own well-being. Now more than ever, we're going to be continuing to develop resilience programs, which is what we're really going to need during this time. So I just have a quick, I love this, and I think actually the key of well-being is actually being self-aware. So pretty good, and you can see this caption is of a young lady looking with her magnifying glass and taking a good look inside, because to be self-aware actually is where we can glow and flourish. 47% of New Zealanders will experience some anxiety at some stage in their life. So therefore and I'm a quite anxious person. I always have been quite the worried well. So therefore it's very important for me to be self-aware of actually what are the triggers that can increase my anxiety, and also for me to be aware what are the signs and symptoms, because we need to know what we're looking at. So this wee slide just touches there on generalized anxiety disorders, what the symptoms of it are. So we can see down there the restlessness, fatigue, and the fatigue comes from being just mentally drained from overthinking, ruminating, catastrophizing, because anxiety is really mentally draining and physically draining. Excessive anxiety and worry, that's our thought processes, because anxiety affects us cognitively, it affects us physically, and it affects our behavior. Our increased muscle tone, so that's how anxiety physically impacts on the body. So we know for a lot they'll experience heart palpitations, heart racing. I know for me, I always get a rash. I usually wear a scarf when I'm doing a presentation. I haven't put one on this morning, so I don't know what way my rash is at the moment. But palpitations, restless legs, agitation, breathing, heart racing, all of those signs and symptoms, and they're quite individual. Impaired concentration, irritability. A lot of times when somebody is really quite anxious, they can actually get quite agitated and quite irritable. And at times we can even get quite passive aggressive, not intentionally, but it's just our reaction to how overwhelmed we are. And of course, difficulty sleeping, which is huge. So there's some really good resources out there on sleep hygiene, which is really, really important actually at this time. And if you want some further information on that, you can go on to health.govt.nz, but really, really important, because when we've had a good night's sleep, it has a significant impact on our well-being. Signs and symptoms of depression. I just put this up, guys, because actually a lot of times when we get really, really quite anxious, it impacts on our mood, which therefore then can lead to depression. So the feeling of helplessness, energy loss, thoughts of death, sleep problem, anger, loss of interest of daily activities, can concentrate, that real chronicity of sadness, and it can also, of course, lead to addiction and substance abuse. So depression and anxiety, as you can see, if you want to jump in here, Pup, quite an overlap on some of the signs and symptoms. We have the sadness, the irritability, loss of interest in normal activities, the thoughts of suicidal ideation, the tiredness, disturbance of sleep, and you can see a key overlap here of restlessness, excessive worrying, unexplained physical complaints such as headaches or stomach aches. And that's, I think there is a stat out there, about 30% of people that present actually to GPs is all stress related. Agitation, restlessness, trembling, increased breathing, feelings of nervousness or powerlessness, having a sense of impending danger, high heart rate, and sweating. So this model here, guys, is actually looking at the cognitive model, or the CBT model, to looking at our anxiety. And when we focus that, anxiety really affects us in three key areas, which of course impacts on our mood. Our thoughts, our ruminating, our overthinking, our irrationalizing, our catastrophizing. And this can be a lot.
I think, Connie, you've just frozen there a little bit.
That's half full or half empty. Impacting also on our behavior, agitation, irritability. For some, they become quite withdrawn and overwhelmed. And yeah, just being, that is quite individual, but we can either become quite withdrawn or we can become really, really quite irritated. The body sensations is the impact on the body, and then of course how it impacts on our mood. So Pop, do you want to jump in there into the Tafari Tapafa model?
Yep, so this is a well-known model that Maori have always used, but is also accepted in many cultures, including ours. So to make my life complete, like the structure of a house, I have to make sure that I've got everything ticking along. Excuse me. So if you look at the top part of the roof there, the spiritual part of me. Now that doesn't necessarily mean religious. It just means that we've all got some sort of spirituality and what makes us feel needed, and the need for something, and something we believe in, somewhere we go to feel an inner relaxation and strength. Then there's our mental and emotional side to us, and we all know about that. That goes without thinking. When we're ticking along well mentally and emotionally, things are a lot better around us. Family and social part of our lives, and that's being tested at the moment with isolation. But also, I hope you're taking time to realise that it also makes us stop and realise that this is a very, very important part to who we are, our family and those that are special around us. Sometimes anxiety can cause us to have a bit of stress with that at the moment, but in fact, that is probably the most important part of our life. Just flick back to that other slide a second. Sorry, Connie, I can't see the smaller one. Thank you. Our roots, land where we come from, our whānau, our physical, so this is a time to get out for those walks, go for a bike ride, do what you can. We're very lucky in Mid Canterbury with ground to do that. So that's that part of it. Thanks, Connie.
Okay. So another model, thanks Pop, another model I flicked up there was, this model actually was one of the first models I ever learned. It's actually been around since 1943 by a great guy, Maslow, and it's based on Maslow hierarchy of needs. So this goes from, as you can see, physiological, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So our most basic needs is our physical survival mode and our motivating behavior. And really we cannot, to fulfill one level, we have to have completed the bottom level. So to fulfill and become to that self-actualization, to desire to become the most that we want to be, we actually have to start off at our basic needs. And that's going back to looking at our basic well-being. This is a nursing model that was developed in 1974 by Roper, Logan and Tierney, and I stuck this up today, guys, because it's actually looking at what we need to look at so this is the really basic needs, and looking at what is our activity of daily living and looking at our own care plan, you know. So looking actually at the moment, what are we doing to keep ourselves safe at the moment? How are we communicating to others? What are we doing to help us relax and help our breathing? Our alcohol and intake, are we looking at that? Are we looking at our diet, which of course then affects our elimination? Washing and dressing. Are we getting up in the morning? I think this morning is one of the mornings I've actually put on a bit of lip gloss, because I know a lot of mornings Pop has been telling me my hair hasn't been so good. Is that fair to say, Pop? Mobilization, getting out, being active. For me, when I was working in the office, I would have done maybe 6,000 or 7,000 steps. I done 22,000 steps yesterday. It was unheard of, but I actually didn't do it for myself. I done it for my kids, because I had to take the three of them out for 3 different walks. But it's whatever works. But these are key things, you know, that mobilizing, keeping active, working and playing, sleep, and eventually, of course, looking after our own wealth. This model, the wheel of balance, this is a model I use when I done my accredited life coaching. I really love this model and I use it all the time. A lot of times when we're feeling really overwhelmed in our life and where we are at the moment, we think that everything in our life isn't in a good place. So when we look at all of these areas, guys, as you go around, there's their family and friends, how's our relationships, how's our personal growth, how's our lifestyle, habit of fun and recreation, health, financially, how we're doing, and what's our home and physical environment like, and our career identity. So scoring all of those, and this is a really good one for you to take away home and look at, scoring each one of those areas. So if I was to look at my relationship at the moment, it's pretty good, even though I'll have to say COVID-19 has put a wee bit of tension on that. If I was to look at my personal growth, I think I've learned more actually, and probably agree, in the last personal growth for all of us. And actually for me, looking at what are the positives of this situation that we've been put in, looking at my balance wheel, because my balance wheel and my wheel of life was off balance. So looking at scoring those out of each area out of 10, so financially 8 out of 10, maybe 6 out of 10 actually, health 7, 8 out of 10, But actually going back and scoring, if I was to look at it a year ago and each of those areas, where would it be? You know, would my health be 3 out of 10? I definitely wasn't as active. Financially, how were things for us? How was my relationship with family and friends? And then out of the areas that we see that we're scoring low in, we need to put some smart measurable goals around that to look after our well-being. Scheduling, guys, key. 168 hours in the week. We all say we don't have time for self, and for someone that can be quite overwhelmed, and when we're in quite anxious times like we are at the moment, the importance of routine and structure is key. And actually writing up a physical schedule, but ensuring in that schedule that you do find 30 minutes for self in the morning and 40 minutes at least every day for yourself. So in the morning time, I always get up. I have 3 kids here, 15, a 13 and an 11-year-old. And I always get up and I have a cup of tea to myself for half an hour before anybody comes near me. And I always wake up, and that's my time. It gives me grounding, and it prepares me and sets me up for the day. So writing out a schedule, there's loads of schedules online, you know, to take a look at, but actually saying that we don't have enough time for ourselves isn't good enough. Because if we're looking at this, yeah, Paul?
Sorry, just on that point, Connie, I'm on my own mostly in isolation, and that scheduling is also very important when you're on your own, because it'll be easy just to stay in bed, and that's what leads to anxiety and depression. So that scheduling, no matter what position you're in, it's vital.
Absolutely. And Pop, as you say, you know, living on your own, but also being a parent. So for every one of us, it is vital. It's vital. And looking at this, I don't know, can you see this, Pop? Have you got your glasses on, Pop? Have you?
I have, Connie. And I've combed my hair.
Oh, you're looking smart. This is, you know, if we say we're getting 8 hours sleep every night, which a lot of us don't do, that's 56 hours a week. You know, working a 40-hour week, and for a lot, we all don't work 40 hours. So that's removing 40 hours, 42 hours of where we eat and communicating, family time. So we have given that daily time of 6 hours a day for family and for, you know, to deal with our daily life and activities of daily living. But there's still 30 hours enough time for ourselves. So breaking that down, guys, finding a way is really key. Now more than ever, do you want to jump into this, Pop, about the bucket list?
Yeah, so this is planning our lives. You know, don't let things just tick along. And all of a sudden we're finding ourselves in a situation with lockdown where we have time to do some real planning and make our life a bit more meaningful than just finding another day's gone, another week's gone, another year's gone. So what are you going to do with your future? What are you going to do with your family to prepare them? So some good, practical, meaningful goal setting that doesn't just become a dream, but because you're planning for it to happen, becomes reality. And that's good for us because we've then got things to look forward to and things to make our life deep meaning.
Absolutely, Pop, absolutely. Just jumping in there I've just put up a couple of techniques, guys, that actually if we're feeling overwhelmed, but I think that for me, they're actually daily techniques at the moment. This one you might have seen, I've been sharing this around on the Safer pages and to a few different social media groups. It's a really good grounding technique. And grounding, and this is a lovely wee picture of Mount Hutt, which is just at the base of where I live. So when we're feeling overwhelmed and when our thoughts are becoming quite irrational, and for our children, this is awesome. It's awesome actually for young people who are students in exams, and they feel like they can't get their concentration and focus, and they're overwhelmed. So grounding is an exercise that looks at the 5 senses, and we start off by looking at 5 things I can touch. So in this room at the moment, I can touch my computer, I can touch the chair, I can touch the TV, I can touch my daughter Anna's Lego that's in the corner, that's a bit of a mess, and I can touch my cup of coffee. 4 things I can see. I can see the windows, I can see the light, I can see the scissors over in the corner, and I can see my phone. 3 things I can smell. I can smell my coffee that I never got to have. I can smell the flowers. And because we're on the farm, I can actually smell the effluent as well because it's going on the farm. 2 things I can taste. I can taste my coffee and I can taste my biscuit that's just there beside me. And 1 thing I can hear, and now more than ever, this is just beautiful, I can actually hear the birds in the background. I live in Line Road. It's a really, really busy road. And this is probably the first time ever that I'm actually able to hear things. So that's an exercise, guys, that if you think of what were we actually talking about before I started this exercise? And for a lot of us, we can't remember. And that's what it does. It gets things in perspective. It stops the irrational thought processes. Really, really good to do with your kids and for yourself. Visualization. So this is an image I have. It's a Neolithic burial site, just 2 in Ireland, if you ever go online. And this is actually my front field back in Ireland at home. It's a big mound. There was bodies and chalices found there back in 1980. And it was always a place, as a child, we were allowed to walk up to it was at the 4th pole to the burial site. And that was sort of our key. So for me, we would have spent many, many days just sitting on top of the mound. Visualization is bringing us back to somewhere we can imagine in life, and you are already there. And it's another just really good distraction and mindfulness technique. And using your 5 senses when you visualize where you are, utilizing 5 things you can imagine. There are 4 things you can see, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can taste. For a lot of people, they will visualize somewhere that they've gone, a regular place that they would have gone on holidays. I know for Pup, he's probably thinking of Tiana or down there fishing is something. Would that be right, Pup?
Yep.
But it's really good, really simple. Don't be like Mr. Worry, practicing our breathing techniques to reduce your anxiety and your prima frown. Couple of anxiety breathing techniques I use for anxiety. One of them is I record how many breaths I take in a normal minute. So I put on my Fitbit and I time it for 60 seconds and I time my breaths. In the next minute, I have to go back, repeat my breaths, but I reduce them by half. It's really simple. It's really effective. Abdominal breathing is actually where I put my hand on my abdomen. I have a big abdomen and one on my chest small. And I breathe in through my nose, hold my breath, and as I do, my chest wall rises, and I breathe out through my mouth, and as I do, my abdomen distends. Another breathing technique, 4, 4, and 4. Breathing in for 4, holding for 4, and breathing out for 4. Loads of mindfulness strategies out there, guys. Loads of breathing techniques, loads of grounding techniques, visualization. These are really key. And you know what? I've been so surprised where my kids are actually of this, because they're doing it through school. So actually, this is a really good time to become more aware and utilize these practices. At the moment, the Les Mill On Demand have those 3 classes going. So I'm actually doing some yoga and body balance at the moment with the kids as part of their routine. So this is just a quote from the All Right campaign, and it's just really, our daily lives look very different right now, and we need to hunker down to get on top of the COVID-19. One of the very best things that we can do is to tune in to the simple things that help us feel good. We are strongest when we look after ourselves and others, and there are lots of ways we can reach out to our loved ones, be kind, and have fun at home, because together, as we all know, we'll get through this. Isolation, not isolated. Distant, distance, not distant. I think Pup Chamberlain must be ringing me 12 times a day at the moment. Are you, Pup?
Yeah, we're a bit like that, aren't we? Which is great. Just to keep connecting and doing what we do well.
Absolutely. And looking at the isolation, not isolated, for me, I found ways of awesome connectivity that I didn't have. And I actually don't feel isolated. I feel more connected to my community. Here in Methven, there's been there's Flo, and there's Anna Johnson, the garage gym, and there's a couple of awesome groups. I see even some of the scouts that were doing some poppies and stuff up there. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. You know, using actually social media to keep connected at the moment. You know, whether it's downloading or doing a Facebook Live group, there's no excuse. I've been involved in the Irish Mammies, which has been awesome for me. They have a Facebook group, and actually I'm here over 10 years on and off. And the first time I done a Zoom with my whole family of my siblings was last Friday week. I always would have done them individually, but I never had my 7 siblings all in the one. It was actually chaotic, but it was really cool. And love from afar. I don't think we need to say much more there. Just about connecting, caring, looking out for others, because actually by doing that, and Pup will talk about this, and that giving, we get more. Okay, Pup.
So this is what I refer to as my warrant of fitness. And you can see that these, if you go online to the likes of the Mental Health Foundation, you'll see lots of good resources by this. I have this beside my bed, and I also have it on my computer at work. My warrant of fitness to life. And I see our time's nearly up before we have question time, but this to me is simple and therefore effective. Connect. So for you newcomers to our area, this is really vital to connect to home. I know some of you'll be feeling isolated and a wee bit homesick and worried about your folks overseas. So stay connected. We can do that in this day and age mostly. And also connect with locals as much as you can. The people in Mid Canterbury will welcome you, but sometimes that takes an effort on both sides. I know, again, difficult in isolation at the moment, but there are ways around that. Give. Part of what we're doing at the moment in isolation is giving to humanity. We've seen how deadly this can be in other countries and how well New Zealand is doing. So by all doing our little bit, we're giving, and by giving, to me, giving properly is a selfish act, because we actually get more out of giving than we do by the people that are actually receiving what we're giving, if we're doing it properly and in good spirit. Take notice. It's rare in this busy day and age that we live in that we've got time to take notice of what is really important in life. Is it those materialistic things that we're all chasing, or is it actually right at our toes? The dream that we're chasing is actually here all along. The people close to us and the simple way that we can enjoy that. Keep learning. Good chance at the moment to jump online, learn some new hobbies and skills. As I said, with Connie and me, that's certainly been technology, but other things as well. This is an opportunity that we've got to learn, because that's good for us mentally and physically. Be active, make sure you get each day, put some time aside to go for a walk, just what we've heard with Connie. Might do some exercises in front of the telly with old Les Mill in the morning, or plenty of sites that we can go to do some workouts. Jump on the bike. We can do that as long as we stay within our area and we don't jump in a motor vehicle to go and do it like one or two have made the mistake of. So this is 5 ways of well-being, simple and effective. Thanks, Connie.
And, you know, I think actually Pup and I, being active, we made a commitment to ourselves, because we work quite closely together, that we actually screenshot it every day, both of us taking a picture of being active, and it's actually been a real connectivity. And so just be aware of actually all of our colleagues. Maybe that's something that you could do, of actually how you can actually buddy up with someone and just click that image. It doesn't take long, but it actually has made me get up off my butt and make sure that I haven't got out before I walk, and that Pup will be aware and I'll be cut out. So guys, the resources for COVID-19, the ministry have some really good stuff there, and they're very, very clear that what we need is really a consistent message. So all the ministry have information there on health.govt.co.nz. What they're really saying is, you know, key messages from them Find ways to stay connected. Do the things that make us feel good. As Pop said, keep active and keep moving. Find a space to relax. I don't think I've ever bought as many candles, but that's been really good. And actually just finding that space and creating that space at home. Be generous. Be generous to ourselves and to be generous to others. Because the art of being generous and giving, we receive a lot more out of that, and that impacts on our well-being. Sticking to a routine, really, really key. We spoke about scheduling, and moderate the amount, which I think we've all got good at, because there's so much negative news coming in. Just moderating actually how we manage that and reducing that. I know for me at the moment, I just watch 15 minutes a day and that's it. If we're concerned about how we can support our kids, really important at this point to reassure them. Just, you know, be as parents, you're awesome parents. All they need is the reassurance from mum and dad. Encourage them, get them active, keep them going, do the things that they enjoy, because this actually has to be about them and not about us. Letting them know that feeling anxious is a normal thing and being worried. There's a really cool thing called worry time. It's often been recommended as a really good tool, but actually having that worry time, you know, for 15 minutes in the day, and sometimes it can be good for them to use a log to write it down, or to even to draw an image of their worry. But actually with that worry time, ensuring that it is at 3 o'clock in the day, not at 8 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock at night is a time for bedtimes, and if any of us are talking about a problem or a worry or a relationship issue or a financial issue, whatever it is, at 8 o'clock at night, we all know we don't sleep for the night because we ruminate, we catastrophize, we get into that cognitive model of anxiety and of overthinking. So it's actually about doing it at 3 o'clock a day and doing a check-in, being understanding, and of course, guys, and I've had to do this big time, giving extra love, and maybe just actually recognizing that they need their space. So when I want us all to go for a walk, that mightn't be the time that the kids are ready for it. Other resources, the All Right campaign, the ministry have working alongside of awesome resources for the links to the All Right campaign, and the Mental Health Foundation, excuse me, which is all on the ministry, the health.govt.co.nz, the links to that fantastic pieces of work out there. Some of the apps that I would have used, and you can also go on the ministry, has a link to all the apps. Headspace is really good. Calm is a really good mindfulness app. Forest is good. The Virtual Hope Box I use myself, it's a really, really good one. And the Mind Shift, really good for teenagers, for young people. It's quite a CBT model on it. Really, really cool. 1737, sorry, I need to jump back to that. I have the pin on 1737. You can see the Director of Health, he's wearing that badge every day as he comes on the news. 24/7 free counselling of qualified counsellors, first point of call. So if you're concerned about yourself or your well-being, looking for any strategies, 1737 free service, guys, is absolutely awesome.
And that's text or phone.
Text or phone. Other things, guys, really 1737. If you're concerned, and I spoke with the secondary services in Elizabeth Street yesterday. They are open if someone is an acute emergency. So ring 0800 222 955. CAF services for young people are open 0800 218 219. Yes, a lot of it is going to be by Zoom or phone call, but please reach out. ACATS is open, Presbyterian support is functioning. All our services are up and running. So please access. And of course, your GP. Your GP is there, your practice nurse there to give them a call, and don't hesitate. They know you, didn't know your family, so just reach out if you're feeling in need. I have a couple of websites up there as well, the Common Ground, the Lowdown, and depression.org. Some really cool stuff. And finally, Pop and I are available. Sorry, I have should be a small queue. Pop and I, our contact details, mine is connie.quigley@safermidcanterbury.org.nz. My number 0274500742. Please don't hesitate to contact me at any time if you're concerned about someone else, it's about navigating to your services. because Pop and I are both in contact with all services at the moment in Ashburton. And if you're just looking for advice, don't hesitate to contact me. My background is a mental health clinician. I've worked as a mental health clinician for over 25 years. I worked in primary care and mental health before going into this role. Pop is paul.chamberlain@safermidcanterbury.org.nz 027 382 6501. Pop, as you know, has been a police officer for 38 years in our area and also has done a lot of work around adult education. So between the both of us, if you have any concerns, don't hesitate. We'd only love to hear from you and like to support you in any way. Have you anything further you want to pop in there with Pop?
Yeah, no, I think our time's pretty much up. We'll pass back to our host and see